Hello, my third grade friends. Today we are doing Unit 5, Lesson 5. And in this activity, we're going to be doing more of those word problems that are comparing, but we're giving especially close attention because we want to notice where there's some misleading language. So sometimes things are phrased a little funnily, but if we draw our model and we really think about what we're being asked, we can always solve it, right? Okay, it starts out with a puzzle penguin. It says, "Dear math students, as part of my math homework, I solved this problem. Carlos has 19 fish. He has 14 fewer fish than Daniel. How many fish does Daniel have?" So Carlos has 19. The difference is 14. How much is Daniel? Is my answer right? If not, please correct my work and tell me what I did wrong. Your friend Puzzle Penguin. So, I'll read it one more time. Think about it. Carlos has 19 fish. He has 14 fewer fish than Daniel. How many fish does Daniel have? You ready? Okay, so he did the right thing by setting up his comparison bars. And he put 19 in Carlos's bar, but the person with more fish should get the bigger bar because the other one has the smaller amount and the difference to add together to get to the big amount, right? So if Carlos has fewer than Daniel, that means Daniel has more. So who gets the big bar? Daniel, which then means Carlos gets the little bar. Now when we put 19 here and our difference 14 here, it's a completely different equation. Instead of subtracting to find Daniel's amount, we're going to actually add these two, and that's going to make sense because if Carlos has fewer than Daniel, Daniel should have a higher number, right? So by subtracting, you're not going to get a higher number. You got to add, right? So then we'll go ahead and we will add our 19 and our difference of 14 together, and we'll get 33. So how can we explain to this penguin what he did wrong in a polite way, right? Because everybody makes mistakes. It's no big deal. So I would say if Carlos has fewer fish, Carlos should have the small bar. So I'll say, oops. If Carlos has fewer fish, we should give him the smaller bar. So his problem was just in setting up his model here, okay? So now as we're going through with these problems, we're gonna have that careful eye to try to avoid making that same mistake that our puzzle penguin friend made. So, number 2. I'm going to have my whiteboard available here for me to use as space. You can use paper or whiteboard. Daniel has 23 fish. He has 15 more fish than Carlos. How many fish does Carlos have? So I'm asking myself, who has more? If Daniel has more, he should be getting the big bar, right? So I'm giving Daniel the big bar, Carlos the little bar. Daniel's amount is what goes in the big bar. The difference is that 15. And then to find this missing number, we're going to subtract. So 23 minus 15. 3 minus 5 is not going to work, so we have to ungroup. Now we have 110 over here. Now we have 13. Take away 5, which is 8. 0. So then Carlos will have 8 fish. Okay. Issue to erase. So remember, the person with the bigger amount gets the bigger bar. Unknown larger amount. Gina ran 12 laps. She ran 8 fewer laps than Bettina. How many laps did Bettina run? So I'm going to set up my comparison bar because I see that fewer than, more than kind of language. Gina's amount is fewer than Bettina's. So who did more? Bettina. So that means Gina gets the little bar. So we're going to put her 12 in the little bar and then put the difference in that difference bubble. And then how do we find that big number? Well, we're going to add. So 12 plus 8 equals 20. Okay. This next one. Bettina ran 20 laps. She ran 8 more laps than Gina. How many laps did Gina run? Okay. Setting up your model, big bar, little bar, and the difference bubble. Bettina ran 20 laps. We don't know where to put that yet. She ran 8 more than Gina. So who did more? Bettina did more. Gina did fewer. The difference is 8, and the amount Bettina ran was 20. So then how do we find the smaller amount? We subtract. 12. Sorry, I'm kind of blocking it, aren't I? All right, number 5. Sarah read 18 books this month. She read 13 fewer books than Lupe. How many books did Lupe read this month? So, draw. Thinking about it, who gets the big bar? If Sarah read fewer than Lupe, that means Lupe read more than her, which means Lupa read more, which means Lupe gets the big bar, Sarah gets the little bar. We know what Sarah's amount is. It's the 18. That's what goes in the box. The difference is 13. That's what goes in the bubble. To find Lupe's amount, we're going to add these up. So 31. That's a lot of books. Good job, girls. Okay. Hopefully you're feeling good about this. We're just being really careful. As you get older, your word problems become a little bit more complicated. So you just want to, you know, stay on your toes. I'll do this. That might work. Okay. So I'm going to do a couple of these with you, and you could do the rest on your own. Solve comparison word problems without the words more or fewer. So the coach brought 18 hockey sticks to practice. There were 23 players at practice. How many players didn't get sticks? Okay, we can still use our comparison bars for this. What are there more of, players or sticks? There are more players. There are fewer sticks. There's 18 sticks and there's 23 players. How do we find that difference between the number of players and the number of sticks? We're going to subtract, right? Because it's the missing bottom difference number, right? So 23 minus 18. 13, 5. So just 5. 5 players didn't get sticks. Okay. Number 7, I think you could try that one on your own. Let's do number 8. Jess had 16 apples. After he gave one to each of his cousins, he had 13 apples left. How many cousins does Jess have? So we're comparing cousins to apples. Well, I guess we're comparing, it's kind of a weird problem, but if we have a total number of, our total number of apples was 16, and he gave some away to the cousins, and that's like cousins over here. The difference was 13. Honestly, for this one, it makes more sense to just do it as like a math mountain, right? Do that. So we have our total of 16. Our remaining apples are 13, and our apples that were given away are over here. How do we find that amount? We do our 16 minus 13, and it's 3. So that means he gave away 3 apples, 1 to each cousin, so there are 3 cousins. Let's do number 10 together. You could do number 9 by yourself. Maylee took 1 step on each tile along the garden path. After she took 14 steps, there were 13 more tiles to go. How many tiles were there along the path? So this one might make more sense with a Math Mountain too. So there's the steps she's already taken, which is 14, and the steps left to go, which is 13, which is the total number of steps altogether. How do we find this one? We add them up. 14 plus 13, 27. Okay, let me know how you're feeling about this, and if you're in my class, ask for help if you need help, and if you're not in my class, go ask your teacher or loved one. Okay, bye-bye everybody, have a wonderful afternoon.